Hello everyone, today I'm working on a 2018 Volkswagen T1. My main issue, so at cold start, it has a hard time starting. I gotta push on the gas. Once it starts, then it seems to be fine. So the main codes that we had, I have some things disconnected right now, so those are the other codes. But the ones that we're gonna focus on are the cold start, fuel pressure, performance, P014800, fuel rail system pressure too low, P008700, and these two, the P12A300, fuel rail pump control valve stuck open, fuel delivery error. So those are the ones that came back pretty close to after starting it. So the one thing I'm seeing here, I go to live data, I'm going to start it. There's a delayed crank even after we get it. After the initial cold start in the morning, we're able to start it, but it has a little bit of a delay. So this is what I wanted to go over. Some things to focus on, some things not so much to focus on, because it was throwing me through a loop. Thankfully, I have another Volkswagen T1, same exact year, that I was able to compare. That doesn't have the issue that we fixed for another issue, but I was able to get in the live data and compare. So I'm just getting down to the fuel pressure. We should be getting close. Now, the one thing I want to go over, not to focus so much on, is the low fuel pressure. So low fuel pressure specified value, it says 88. Actual value is 0. So initially I was thinking it was going to be the low pressure fuel pump. So I did get the fuel gauge on there, but it's within spec. I can go over that right now. The fuel high pressure actual value and fuel high pressure specified value. So here's the biggest difference. So high pressure, I give it a quick acceleration, it doesn't even really move. So that's my main concern there. Now this adaptation value, so high pressure regulation adaptation value, is where it wants to adapt, right? So if it's sending more fuel or less fuel from the high pressure fuel pump, the regulator, right here we're at positive 33.65. On the other one, we're actually at a negative. But it doesn't have the high pressure actual value and specified value are right spot on, so there's not an issue, but it's at negative. So what I interpret that as, it's actually reducing fuel going to the engine because it's where it's supposed to be, or that this, and when we accelerate it, we do get a strong gas smell and we get black smoke coming out of it, but to me it's just running really rich. It's dumping fuel into the motor because it's detecting that it's low on that. So after we did the fuel pressure gauge, so right now we're at 90. Connected the fuel pressure to it. Anywhere from, 60 to 110 basically is within range. So I don't think we actually have a fuel pressure issue. What I'm leaning towards is going to be the fuel pressure sensor, which is going to be underneath the intake. Light on, so it's going to be right in there. Initially it looked like the connector was off a little bit, but with that sensor being off, it's just throwing everything out of whack, even though we do have good fuel pressure. Now, since I do have that other vehicle, I know a lot of people are talking about the high pressure fuel pump being the issue. I did actually just swap it out just to be sure, since all it really is this fuel line and the two Torx 30, I believe. I did swap that out, but still having an issue. Like I said, I was originally thinking that it was going to be the low pressure fuel pump, but seeing the fuel pressure at what it is within spec. So I really don't think that's going to be the issue, or a fuel filter which is integrated into the low pressure fuel pump. So I am going to go for the sensor, replace that, and I will keep you guys updated as far as if that resolved the issue. stay tuned. But yeah, this one was tricky, and I'm seeing a lot of information out there. But most people are pointing towards the high pressure fuel pump, and that is pretty pricey. So before you go and do the actual high pressure fuel pump, it's good to test out what your pressure is at, what your pressure sensor is reading, and yeah, take it from there. I'll be in touch. Okay, so I just thought I would add to the video what would help me in this situation, or what did help me, is being able to compare. So this is the other Volkswagen T1. It's actually same year, same everything. It's pretty easy just to hook up the scanner. Like I said, do not focus. Once I seen this fuel lever low pressure actual value was also at 0, I stopped focusing on that, even though it has its specified value, which is strange. But do not focus on that. But here's what is very standing out to me. So the high pressure actual value, we are right spot on. But then, like I said, the regulator, so that's the regulator that's has the electrical connection that's put on top of the high pressure fuel pump, is at negative. So like I said, because these are on right where it's supposed to be, it's actually decreasing the amount of fuel. Over there we're like at a positive 30 because the sensor is reading that we are low on fuel pressure. So it's trying to regulate the regulator, and increasing the amount of fuel, and that's where we get basically just flooding the engine. We get puff of black smoke when we first start it, and just at the very beginning, that cold start's very hard to start. So like I said, I am leaning more towards the sensor because I'm not seeing anything wrong with the actual fuel pressure itself. So again, stay tuned, and I will let you guys know what happens after replacing that sensor. Alright, so update on this Volkswagen T1. This one was the one we were working on, and now as you can see, fuel high pressure actual value 753, right in line with the specified value. And then we also have the high fuel pressure regulator valve, output valve, at negative. So we are right in line with where we're supposed to be. I did want to give you an update as far as the sensor. So it was not the fuel pressure sensor in this case. I was hopeful because talking to the dealer, they did have it in stock. They said they sold quite a bit of them. So not to say that's not your problem, it just wasn't mine. Ultimately, I did notice that this yellow wire to the regulator was on the outside of the rest of the wire harness. So somebody has already been here and rewired it. As you can see here, this yellow and black one was the original one, and then they just did it with this yellow one. There's a soldering point right there up in here, and so that was just getting smashed. So after we did that, the pressure sensor, I was thinking it may be the relay. Another thing worth noting for you guys, that could be your issue. I did see, oh, I just undid that hose when I put the jumper there, is this relay. So it's worth maybe swapping out with one of these other relays just to see if that's your issue, because this could be an issue as well. That's what I thought at first. Whenever I had the intake removed, I swapped out the relay, and I did see it jump up. But during that time, we unplugged the PCM and we're checking continuity from the sensor to the PCM. All that passed the continuity test, but then we were thinking we were good after we replaced the relay because it was within where it was supposed to be on the fuel pressure. But then once we put it all back together, I started it, and this had dropped down, and this was the fuel pressure actual value was just stuck at like 84, I want to say. Wouldn't move when you'd accelerate, nothing. So now you can see that it is sweeping, so that's going to be more of a normal reading there. So after we were checking it, I was just thinking, what else were we doing at that time that it was working? And I do remember we obviously moved this connection to be able to do the continuity test. We were also, you can always, what I would recommend if you're having this code, because I have another video on a Volkswagen for a misfire, And there's actually another, I want to say a coolant temperature sensor that sorry, let me get this jumper out of the way, that we had a similar issue. And there's always an issue right here in this bend of the electrical harness. And that's what we were doing. We were moving, so the wiggle test, you can move this. And when we had it to a certain point, it was dropping back down to 80. Right now, at this point, like I said, we removed this whole connector and we're able to get it all situated again. But if you're having this code, you can just do the wiggle test. You can wiggle this up and down. You will need your live data and see. At the moment we were wiggling, all of a sudden it was reading and then it would stop, reading and stop. So this connection right here is just notorious, or this harness, where it comes down here, there's this weird bend right here that seems to rub, and just, it's already at a weird angle, and then the more it gets to rubbing, just friction creates some of those wires to split. Like I said, I got another video, actually it was one of my first videos, that was talking about a misfire for ignition coil. And swap coils, it was still ignition coil circuit, so that could be any one, and it was here. I also had another one that was with the radiator fans. There's also a break in the wire there in that harness. So this is my first time that I have one that's fuel pressure related, but nonetheless, this is a known issue for this wire harness. So and there's quite a bit of wires that run through that, so I'm sure we'll continue seeing them. But anyone else having that fuel pressure too low, cold start, low pressure, and then this valve being stuck open, gonna want to check out this wire harness.